can't get over Fruit Bat Factory, which is such a cute idea. And little...
So wait, is it a factory that creates fruit bats, or is it a factory run by fruit bats?
Also, yeah.
I feel like the distinction's important. What kind of fruits do they eat? They eat like coffee fruit. They could make like a whole Kopi Luwak scenario, but with bats instead. Hi, that's how we're starting the episode. Which one were we at? Oh god, it's been a hot minute. We haven't recorded this in a while.
Holy fuck, it's been almost a month.
Yeah, it's because we had the Patreon stuff, and we had some other end of month stuff come up. But yeah, it's been almost a month. We've been away for a little bit, which is fine. We had a buffer. I was cool with that, but still, it's been a little bit. So even though it's the episodes have been consistent on the channel, it's been a little bit for us. So forgive us. Mayuko laid down the futons as we finished talking about the aquarium. She asked me where I wanted to sleep, and I said here. I climbed into the futon and closed my eyes.
Zookarium. She
Fish
knows
know
she will
that-
die soon.
I know I'm gonna die someday. All aboard the Zoo Choo.
Remember when we thought that was a huge meme, and then it turns out the original video had like in the 4 digits of views? And we were like one of maybe a dozen people that still remembered it.
Yeah.
God damn. Zooquarium rocks. I felt tired and I wanted to fall asleep as soon as possible. As I emptied my head, the corridor with the oarfish popped into my mind. I was walking through it, holding hands with Sachiko. When I realized it couldn't have been real, I woke up. I glanced at the clock and with the help of the moonlight made out the display. Only 10 minutes had passed since I got into bed. My hand, however, was still pretending to hold Sachiko's. Made me wonder if it was a dream or a delusion. In the end, I figured there wasn't much of a difference between the two. More importantly, I suddenly felt cold. And it only got worse as I kept reading more of the diary. The more I remembered my time with Sachiko, the more I felt the void where her presence used to be. It truly felt like a hole had opened in me. If I listened in, I could hear the sound of the wind blowing through it. That hole had been there all along. I remembered someone telling me that. I glanced at Mayuko and saw her sleeping on her back, completely undisturbed. Her profile looked beautiful in the moonlight. She reminded me of Sachiko a little. Wanting to take a closer look, I climbed out of my futon and drew closer to her. Their eyes were about the only thing differentiating them.
Were they?
Sachiko always looked like she was sleepy, which made the shape of her eyes appear somewhat narrower than Mayuko's. Still, I wondered how they compare when they both fully opened their eyes. I felt like they might look the same.
Is something wrong?
Mayuko addressed me with her eyes closed.
I can't sleep because of the cold. Can I get in?
Mayuko half opened one of her eyes, then closed it again. She told me it was all right. Grabbing my pillow, I slid into her futon. Mayuko turned her back to me. I hesitated for a second, then wrapped my arms around her. When I stuck my hand below her, Mayuko raised her body a little. I heard the beating of my heart as I pressed my breasts against her back. Mayuko was either very light or slept in a good position because my hand didn't hurt at all, despite being pinned under her weight.
Point of order, is this malpractice? I think this is malpractice.
I think we established that this isn't happening, right? Because our current operating theory is that what Takako is seeing here, what Takako's POV isn't actually happening, right? These are Sachiko's somewhat self-insert backfilled fantasies about Takako's time at the same sanatorium she's at. Right?
Yeah.
And our idea with Sachiko is that she hasn't been able to form new memories for most of her adult life.
Mm-hmm.
And is now in either an elder care or some other kind of assisted living facility in her old age and being taken care of, but her memories functionally stopped forming
Well, are we still on old Sachiko theory?
I still think it's likely. One of our commenters pointed out that during the parts where she was talking with the kids, all the kids made a point of being bowing and being respectful to her. Something only generally done towards the people that are their elder.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of small things in there that make me think that
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I had originally thought old Sachiko theory purely because of the it was a sanatorium a long time ago, but then that didn't quite pan out.
There was also like people like you could hear the innkeeper mentioning like, oh yeah, yes, making a scant reference to someone who was like 50 or 60 years old. Right. There's a whole bunch of tiny little things that I think all add up there, and under our understanding of what Takako's story might be, I think it all adds up.
All right.
Because and remember, the only other person that was giving us a problem with that was giving us facts that we couldn't reconcile, was someone who was also staying there. So, I don't know. I think that's still my leading theory right now.
Fair enough.
And which explains the malpractice here, because it's not actually It's Takako hugging one of Sachiko's many self-inserts. During my light fidgeting, my hand brushed against Mayuko's bra. A mischievous idea popped into my mind, but I hurriedly discarded it. I was already causing her enough trouble with my weird condition, so I didn't want to make the whole situation even more awkward. Malpractice. She's doing a great job of it. As I fell asleep, I dreamt of having sex with Mayuko. I should look at the sentences before I read them, shouldn't I? I just wasn't prepared. I squeezed her breasts with one hand while sticking my other between her thighs. I toyed with her nipples, listening to her moan. When I guided her hand to my crotch, she slowly started to massage it. Elated, I turned her over and began vigorously going at her from the front. Mayuko hid her face with her hands, trying to avoid eye contact. Her face kept turning into Sachiko's from time to time. I still felt everything when I woke up in the morning. Before I opened my eyes, I checked my clothes with my left hand. I heaved a sigh of relief. My head hurt a bit, but it must have been from the anxiety and my low blood pressure. I love
the cheery little jingle.
Chipper little jingle. Yo, we made it to chapter 4.
Damn.
Uh-oh. Anytime there's a music box, right? Immediate feelings of nostalgia and wistful hope for bygone era. The rays of the sun filtered in through the marmalade-colored western window of the kindergarten, elongating the shadows of the three of us inside. I held a picture book in my hands that masqueraded as a doctor's notebook. Takako was pressing her stethoscope against the belly of a doll.
Does the stethoscope have a right side and a wrong side?
She asked me. Do we think this is... There's 3 of them. Is this...
I don't know. Well, I'll just take the line. You're holding it correctly.
I see.
She took the stethoscope off and put it on the table. There was a whole lineup of toy medical dolls on it, all to be used as part of the game. Takako looked them over for a second, and after a brief moment of hesitation...
What is this one?
She picked up a spatula generally used to hold down the tongue.
Ah, the nurse is looking.
I turned around and saw the nurse looking our way. She picked up a plush bunny we left on the floor earlier and put it back into its box. I couldn't make out her face in the backlight.
Was she looking at us?
Yes. You seem to be a very untrustworthy doctor.
I fear for your future patients if you ever actually become one.
Ah.
I think Narasaki's better at it than you, Takako.
Okay, we can switch if you want.
So this is Sachiko doing this part.
Okay, Narasaki stood up. She picked up the stethoscope, put it around her neck, and sat down in the chair.
What does tiny Narasaki sound like? So,
exactly.
Where does it hurt?
Yeah.
I hate a poisoned apple.
Just like in the story we read today.
Huh. In that case, please show me your stomach.
Okay.
Do we like that? Takako pulled up her shirt, exposing her naked belly. All right, now turn around. Takako did as ordered. Oh, do you want her?
Takako did as ordered, pantomiming a spinning chair.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with your lungs. Okay, let's have a look at your throat now.
Takako spun her invisible chair again and opened her mouth.
I get a barf.
Open wide. Yeah, just like that.
Narasaki used the spatula to push Takako's tongue out of the way.
You're good at opening your mouth. I can see all the way to your tonsils. I have no idea what you're saying, though. Yes, I put my own fingers in my mouth to get that. I'm nothing if not committed.
We have a spatula.
It was all the way over there. If you could tell the difference between spatula and 2 human digits, maybe we run in the same circles? The letters blurred and began dancing on the page. I closed the book and rubbed my eyes with one hand. I glanced at the clock resting on the edge of the long table.
Why is she here? I still don't have a theory for what the heck is going on with her.
I think she legitimately is just interested in the building.
Yeah.
I don't know what connects her to the rest of the cast, but I think having her here and having her appear in Takako's story as well is kind of a blind to make the time period feel unclear.
Oh,
when really the reason she would appear in Takako's story is because Sachiko's backfilling that.
Okay.
And she's filling it in with stuff that she knows should be there, like her.
That makes sense.
What are you reading, small child? Oh, never mind.
What?
That was Kozue, not you.
What are you reading?
Kozue, sitting on the other end of the table, addressed me. Oh, right. I can just do Narasaki narration. It's a book about psychological illness.
Oh, I hope you get better.
Wow, that was actually pretty savage. High five. I'm not the one afflicted. Kozue exhaled an aloof breath. She looked toward my direction, her eyes narrowed.
Perception and Behavioral Psychology.
She read aloud the title of the book that I was holding. It's just the book I was looking for. Lily said this used to be a sanatorium when you two were talking, so I figured I'd try my luck.
Are you a doctor?
That's right.
What kind of doctor?
Right now a psychologist, but I've got a training in a variety of fields.
I see.
Despite saying that, Kozue looked at me with incredulous eyes. I didn't flinch, and soon enough her gaze mellowed out.
I've never known a doctor before.
Really?
Apple a day, motherfucker.
Wait, what?
Apple a day, motherfucker.
No! My natural weakness! Where'd you even find all those apples? You'll be shitting out an orchard in no time. Kozue began tilting her head side to the side, but stopped the moment she caught herself doing it.
The school has a counselor, though.
You can become a counselor without a doctor's license as long as you have the relevant education. Is that person a friend of yours?
No. He came to my house this one time when I was skipping classes a lot. Apart from that, I only saw him in ethics class.
Do you skip school a lot?
When I feel tired. It's not like I enjoy slacking off for long periods of time. I was just really tired then.
Did you go to school afterwards?
Yes. I got even more tired once my parents started fussing over it.
How do you relax on the days when you're tired?
I sleep until there's no one else in the house, which is usually around 9 o'clock. After that, I read books. No one comes back until late at night, so I sometimes go outside during the afternoon.
And that helps with your exhaustion. I pried a bit further. Kozue furrowed her brows as though trying to remember what she told me.
I suppose tired was not the right word. Going to the same place every day bores me to death. I want a change of scenery from time to time.
Like choosing a less traveled route to school, or boarding a train and letting it take you across town and back until sundown.
Stuff like that. You get what I'm trying to say?
I used to be a student as well, and even now I'm forced to do more or less the same thing. every day.
Don't you ever get tired of it?
I do. Everyone does.
Being reminded that I am deeply abnormal. Hours.
Kozue placed her elbows on the desk and rested her chin on her hands.
Can't I just become like those cats that always sleep on the fence?
Maybe even the cat wondered why we spend all of our time working with barely any rest. Anyway, people are different from napping felines. We can't just do whatever we want.
Sure, we are not cats, but still, why can't we live the way we want?
People have their positions in society. We live in a society, even. Got 'em.
Got 'em.
We are social animals, and we all have our roles to fulfill within our own communities. My legs began to hurt in my current position, so I recrossed them under the table. And the community returns the favor. Schools provide you with education, while families provide you with your livelihood, until that role is taken over by your workplace, of course. And it is all structured in a way to make that function as effectively as possible, which forces people to do the same thing, the thing that they are the best at, over and over again.
Will it get better once I grow up?
No. What do you mean by that exactly?
I'm asking if life will become any less boring.
I couldn't help but smile at Kozue's childish question. She seemed to consider an easy and unchanging life boring. At the same time, though, it could be considered the embodiment of peace, something that many people held in high regard. Why would it?
Well, compared to school, there are all sorts of jobs in the world, and you're free to choose whichever you like.
I see. You're right that the world is rife with various different occupations to choose from. At school, you only have the student council, while adult society has countless companies, divisions, positions, industries, occupations, and all sorts of other things that divide and sequester the whole. Kozue listened to me with somewhat dim eyes. However, this level of extreme specialization severely narrows the scope of your job compared to what you are used to at school, which is why people tend to be likened to cogs in a machine.
Why does it have to be so specialized?
I do not know. Maybe because everyone is competing in the same field. As our goals keep getting bigger and bigger and our population increases, everyone has to be an expert in their own respective roles.
A cog,
said Kozue, her expression clouding over.
I don't like steampunk.
What, you wouldn't like a top hat with a cog on it? What is the cog attached to? It serves no functional purpose. If you look at the big picture, we're like an awesome, giant robot, I said. You like mecha shows, you're a kid.
Yeah, I liked Gundam War in the Pocket. It was an excellent and no-holds-barred examination of the tragedy of war and its effect on innocent civilians.
I liked Gunbuster. For reasons. Gunbuster actually fucks, though.
Yeah.
Gunbuster low-key.
It's great.
It's great. It's great. I think if Evangelion didn't exist, it would probably be my favorite mecha show. And I don't want to have the argument about whether or not Evangelion deserves to be counted as a mecha show. Of course it does.
How does everyone let off steam in a world like that?
Well, that depends. I thought you didn't care for steampunk. I'm getting mixed signals from you, young child. That depends on the person. It's something that you'll gradually get to learn at home, at school, or even during your club activities.
Is that how it works?
Most of the time, at least. Kozue let out a small sigh.
I suddenly don't feel like going to school tomorrow.
I couldn't help but making a sour expression myself.
Still, maybe I'll pay a bit more attention from now on.
I'm glad to hear that. With that subject covered, Kozue shifted her gaze back to her book. I returned to my book as well. It contained several records about past treatments, which made me hope I could find at least one that resembled Sachiko's situation. I think this is Kozue.
How do you work exactly?
Kozue addressed me around the same time I finished making a note of every case worth looking into. Oh, me! Taken by slight surprise, I reacted with a foolish question. There was no one else in the room, of course, so Kozue just continued to stare at me, saying nothing. I made an embarrassed smile. I'm not sure how you imagine it, but psychologists aren't like other doctors. We don't mess with your body too much. At best, we recommend some medicine.
What kind of patients come to you?
Most of the people that visit my place are either old men that use dementia as an excuse to talk about their grandchildren, or housewives who come to complain about their husbands and daily chores.
Sounds like a pain, but even I could hear them out.
It doesn't take a genius to listen.
What do you do when they finish talking then?
First, I have to listen carefully and find the exact cause of what's weighing on their mind, and then I think about how to help them overcome it.
Sounds simple enough.
Might not be as easy as you think. You can't see inside a person's mind after all.
How is it not easy?
It's different from simply opening someone's mouth and inspecting the condition of their tonsils, or listening for abnormalities in the beating of their heart. Everyone's mind is unique and different from mine, so you can neither quantify anything nor tell good from bad with exact precision.
Then what do you do?
Faff about, mostly. Drink beer on occasion. I'm having a hard time putting it into words. However, Kozue fell completely silent, obviously waiting for an answer. I took a breath and considered how I would convey at least the gist of it to her. It might be easier to understand if you imagine the mind as a large swath of water. Its surface could be ravaged by storms while the deeper parts remain undisturbed. However, there are times when the sea appears calm enough from the beach, but when you step into the water, you end up getting swept away by the underwater currents. People's emotions work in a similar way. To find out what is really going on, you have to delve deep. Just looking at the surface or even the mid-depth won't yield a definite answer. You have to reach the bottom. So you dive as deep as you can and you shine light on the darkness that you find there. And it's only then that you start seeing the genuine thoughts of that person. They are all like deep sea fish, living in the depths no one knows about. They evolve in their own unique and unconstrained way, and sometimes when you shine the light on them, you realize that they are somehow distorted or missing something. Your job is to convey that to the person and help them fix it. After a few moments of silence, Kozue made a small nod.
I'm not sure I understood it.
I can't exactly blame you.
Guess it's not that easy after all.
Yes, that is true.
Hey, have you ever ridden a train until sundown?
Not yet.
And are you sure you're still sane?
I have other ways to relax. You will recall how I said that each person is unique. I get enough changes of pace as it is.
I wish I could be like that too.
As the hour grew closer to lunchtime, Kozue began stuffing her notebooks into her backpack. Going home, she slung the full backpack over her shoulder.
Yes.
I see. In that case, may I have one last question? Kozue passed by my chair, but turned around as I addressed her.
What?
I am looking for a picture book with birds. Do you know where they keep them?
No.
And with that, Kozue trotted out of the library.
Picture book
Dick
with
move.
birds.
Dick move.
Oh, a picture book with birds. That was referenced in the previous sequence at the beginning of chapter 4. I see.
The library was dead and silent without Kozue and Lily. The short heels of my red shoes clicked. I see Lily and I'm thinking about the other thing I'm working on right now. Son of a bitch. The short heels of my red shoes clicked against the floor, their sound reverberating across the walls and the high ceiling. For fun, I tried to make them click at calculated intervals, producing a sound akin to the ticking of a clock. On a second-floor shelf, near the window, I finally found a wild bird encyclopedia. I picked it up, brushed off the dust, and flipped through a few pages. I saw something blue and returned to that page. There's a picture of the blue bird I saw yesterday on the windowsill. I left the library sometime afternoon. As I passed the row of olive trees and reached the inner yard, I heard voices from the rough direction of the camphor tree. I followed the sound to see Nanai talking to a girl I didn't know. The girl sat on a plastic sheet surrounded by a bunch of toys. As she nodded, Nanai patted her on the head, which made her close her eyes in response. I'll be back with some snacks now. And with that, Nanai disappeared into the mansion through a side entrance. Left alone, the girl resumed playing with her toys. With her short hair fastened to the side tail, she reminded me of Takako in her childhood. Son of a bitch. I moved to her side so as not to startle her. The girl was trying to give her doll some milk. However, unable to properly press the tip of the bottle into the doll's mouth, she kept brushing it against its face. I looked at her profile. Big eyes, angled, energetic-looking eyebrows. She shared some features with Takako, but she definitely was not her. Hello there. I addressed her as I reached the camphor tree. Well, that's... And look at the doll she's carrying.
Oh no! The doll is Mayuko. Oh no!
What? Okay.
This is. I have to wonder. Are we dealing with a 3-part unreliable narrator thing as well?
A foile
Folie à trois.
Folie à trois.
Is that a thing?
Is this somehow the Takako whose perspective we see from in the inn?
Doesn't seem like it.
No, that can't be it. So then, who are you? Okay, let's let them cook. Let them cook. Let's see who this is.
New theory. The single element that makes up this world is Takako's and Sachiko's. That's just how it is.
You zoom in real close and it's just a Takako knowingly orbiting a Sachiko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why everyone keeps coming out looking like Takako's and Sachiko's. That's just how it is in this world.
So, do we agree that we're giving her Takako voice but tiny?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
Okay.
we kind of have to.
Okay. The girl turned toward me. However, her eyes were not fixed on me, but on the doll that I was holding. I made the doll's hand move as though it was knocking on the door. Who is it? Oh.
Who is it?
I'm Hibiki. I work nearby as a doctor. What about you?
I am Mia. She is Lily.
She showed me the baby doll that she was holding.
Why is the doll also Lily?
Okay, hold on. I want to let's see what let's let the scene happen first.
Yeah.
Let's see what we get here. You two came here alone. She shook her head.
I came here with my brother. But he went off to the mountains, leaving me alone to take care of everything.
I see. It must be tough on you.
It is.
The girl was staring at the doll in my hands. I made it walk and bow in front of her.
It's dirty.
I made an embarrassed smile. It had obvious tear marks and its colors had mostly faded. Well, it is a pretty old doll after all. It might not look like much now, but this is actually our clinic's mascot. I moved my doll's hand to make the milk bottle from the girl, and by shifting its angle a little, pushed it into the mouth of her doll. As I did that, the liquid inside the bottle decreased.
Thank you.
This time, the girl looked at me. You're welcome.
Miss Doctor, would you accept an invitation for dinner as a token of her gratitude?
I like that idea. The girl began preparing dinner, placed toy plates and food on a board. It looks delicious. I see you've prepared a melon pie and some vegetable soup, but... Oh, but what is this?
That's potato salad.
The door of the side entrance opened. Oh, hello. Nanai closed the door behind her with one leg. She was carrying a tray full of madeleines and had an extra madeleine in her mouth. Good evening, I greeted her with my doll. Nanai came closer to us and saw the food the girl had prepared. Oh, that smells nice.
You want some too, Miss Nanai?
Of course I would. I even brought dessert. Let's all have some later, all right?
I see this is all of your characters, the episode. I'm sorry.
No, it's just how it's gonna be. Eventually, Mia's brother returned to come pick her up. Are you sure you have all your toys with you?
Yeah, I think so.
Mia spent a few moments rummaging through her bag, then stuck her hands in her pockets and checked something in there as well.
Yep.
Do you want to...
Ouch.
What's up with running off and leaving your sister all on her own? Further away, it seemed like Nanai's iron fist of punishment had just landed on the boy's head. He staggered backwards, clutching his head with one hand.
Miss Narasaki.
I felt someone tug on my sleeve. Glancing down, I saw Mia looking at me. Oh, I had hit a button. I thought for a moment it was just doing that. I'm like, what the hell's about to happen? I leaned down and patted her on the head. Goodbye. Let us play this again some other time, child of man.
Be careful on your way back, okay?
Oh no. Mia smiled and then ran off to her brother and Nanai. Things ended well this time around, but what do you think would have happened if she tried following you and got lost in the mountains? Someone has to look after her. Use your head. You're her brother.
I thought you'd look after her if I left her here.
Mia's brother kept making excuses in a small voice while still clutching his head. Move your hand. I'm going to give you another one.
Nanai.
Mia tugged on Nanai's sleeve with a worried expression. Nanai let out a sigh and lowered her fist. Well, whatever. Make sure to be home by the time it gets dark, alright? I think that's the kid.
I'm sorry.
The boy lowered his head, took Mia's hand in her bag, and walked off. I told everything that happened to your parents, so you better be ready when you get home. The boy startled for a moment, but then continued walking. As I watched the siblings walk off in the afternoon glow, Nanai turned to me and made an embarrassed smile. I ended up causing you trouble. I'm sorry. Oh, it's been a while since I could return to my inner child. It was fun. Really? I'm glad to hear that, then. Contrary to her words, her expression still remained somewhat sour. Are you sure you didn't go overboard with the boy? Oh, don't worry. I know all the kids and their parents around here. Can't let them misbehave in front of my eyes. What if he starts hating you for beating him and such? I'm sure he'll understand. And if he starts hating me, I'll do my best to make him change his mind. You don't want to upset them, but you can't let them do as they please either. That's the hard part about being an adult. I'd like to just point out that we here at APR don't subscribe to the same theory of parenting. Nanai shook her head.
I found a round resting room at the end of the corridor on the second floor. It had a small table and 2 chairs.
Had a chess set, and there was some black tea on, and oh my god!
There was also a shelf with a collection of old books. The curving wall, facing the inner yard, was covered in windows. The camphor tree stood right in front of the windows, its branches partially blocking the light. I sat down in one of the chairs and gazed outside. I thought about what I should do next. The sun rays, filtering through the leaves, gave the chairs and the table in the room a pleasant warmth. I felt somewhat drowsy, looking at all that greenery swaying in the wind. The bell signaled the end of lunchtime. Some of the boys dashed out of the classroom to secure themselves a place to play on the athletics field. The sound of shuffling footsteps and various voices filled the area around me. Managing to finish my pack of milk before the bell stopped ringing, I tore off the part holding it together and folded it into a neat rectangle. Once I was finished, I put it into the green case next to the podium. The cases for other tableware seemed to have already been cleaned up. I packed up the green case and left the classroom, intending to carry it to the storage room.
Clang.
I lowered the case, placing it next to a whole bunch of similarly green cases from other classes. As I left the dark storage room and glanced out the window, I spotted several students already playing ball on the athletics field. The normally popular basketball court seemed to have been taken over by an elder class. I turned away and continued to the backyard. The backyard between the fourth wing and a big concrete wall was about as poorly lit as the storage room, but at least it allowed me to distance myself from the noise of the other students. However, as I turned a corner beyond the fourth wing, I saw someone. The silhouette was crouching over a patch of grass, apparently watering it. "What are you doing?"
Raising future generations of Takako. I'm growing weed. Apparently people will pay a lot of money for it.
I liked the implication of the first one so much more, though. She is grass type, clearly.
Yep.
So yeah, you just plant some Takako spores and water them for a few years, and then they'll start making annoying noises at you, and eventually...
I gotta find somewhere good to settle down before I begin to root. Oh, hey, Sachi.
And Takako turned around, her twin tails dancing in the wind. I sat down next to her in my usual spot on the emergency stairs.
I came to water your birthday present.
Is that so? It's always damp here, so I don't think it needs much watering.
Well, you're never in your classroom during lunch. Do you always come here?
Yes. I opened my paperback and took out the bookmark.
Wow.
Takako sat down next to me and spent a few moments staring at the page I was reading, but soon got tired of it and turned away.
Yep.
She then picked up a sketchbook that was lying on the stairs and began drawing something with a brown pencil.
Scratch, 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 scratch.
The scribbling of the pencil was the only sound in the backyard for a while. What are you drawing?
Your present. You told me I couldn't pluck it, so I figured I'd draw it for you.
I see.
You know, our classical Japanese teacher is terrible. I keep raising my hand, but he never asks me anything. Later today, I tried raising my hand to answer a question that no one in class had any clue about, and he still ignored me. What do you think that is?
Maybe he hates you because you keep sleeping in class.
Do I exist? Do I exist at all? That's a really great question.
And your voice is always too loud.
I can't help my voice. But I guess I was right. Damn, and then the math teacher only ever asks me something when I don't know the answer.
Besides, you're terrible at classical Japanese. He probably doesn't let you speak because he doesn't want you to embarrass yourself.
I'll get great marks on the next test and show him.
Good luck.
Hey, Sachi, can you teach me after school?
I can, but what about your club?
Oh, the boys' basketball and volleyball teams are using the gym today, so I have a lot of practice. I'll do some running tonight, but that's about it.
I see. I turned a page. The sound of fervent scribbling resumed.
Okay, I'm done.
She placed the pencil on the stairs and held out her sketchbook in front of me. A 4-leaf clover extended across the entire page, each of its leaves appearing a bit different. Some of the leaves were drawn with wavy lines, while others looked jagged. Both versions looked quite pleasing to the eye, despite them being drawn with relatively few lines. Exactly what kind of profession are you aiming for?
Well...
Her big eyes grew round as she let out a thoughtful grunting sound.
I like drawing and creating things, so probably something along those lines.
That's not very specific.
Ding dong.
It's the bell. Let's go. As I stood up and brushed the dust off my skirt, Takako rolled along the ground and stopped behind me. What are you doing?
Seeding the earth. Just you wait. In a couple of years, there's gonna be dozens of these bitches walking around. Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going?
After school, upon turning the corner, I saw Takako on all fours. What are you doing?
Grazing.
Did you hear that grazing animals such as these deer typically eat about 25 kilograms of grass per day? They're not very fuel efficient.
Wow, that's a very specific reference and timely too. I'm sure everyone will get what that was a reference to. Are you saying that I need to eat more grass? All right, hold on. Sachiko, it's not very tasty. I don't know if I want to go this far for the bit. Is what I would say if it was a bit and not real life.
Takako turned her head over her shoulder and waved at me.
I was looking for the 4-leaf clover. Do you come here during every break?
My classes are over. I came here to read a book for a while before going home. I sat down on the stairs, opened the book, and took out the bookmark.
Here it is.
As soon as she found it, she unzipped her bag she had left in the shadow of the stairs and took out her equipment. She entered the building holding a yellow bucket, filled it up with water, then came back out.
All right.
She sat down next to me.
Splish, splash. Splash, splash.
She stuck her brush into the water.
Let's go with green and yellow.
She squeezed the paint tubes, covering her palette in colors.
I feel like it's not colorful enough.
I turned a page. Just use some other colors then.
I see.
I turned a page. I heard the sound of a brush gliding against the canvas. The damp, gloomy backyard regained its usual silence. The only things I could hear were the sound of turning pages as I read, and the cries of the cicadas in the distance.
I'm done. What do you think?
She placed the brush on the stairs and held out the sketchbook in front of me. That's one colorful clover.
I'm avant-garde.
Does it have any meaning?
Well, I know all the different parts of the 4-leaf clover have different meanings, but I don't remember what they are.
She stuck her head out and considered the canvas herself. She then pointed at the blue leaf.
That one. This blue leaf represents a sprout. It is the youngest of the 4. The yellow one is a young leaf that's yet to fully form. The green one, well, you can no doubt tell yourself it's just a normal leaf in its prime. And lastly, this red one leaf is at the very end of its life.
She pointed at the green and red leaves in order. I'm impressed you managed to come up with that on the spot.
I passed a qualification examination for colors the other day. You can make any color you want by mixing the 4 I used for these leaves.
Takako's
I'm gonna start painting in CYMK.
Takako's palette was a difficult-to-describe mess of a whole array of colors mixed together. Almost like she couldn't decide which one to pick right until the very end.
Got a problem with that? I didn't want to tell her it was really a pride flag.
At the end of the second floor corridor, there was a cylinder-shaped lounge with a small table, 2 chairs, and a bookshelf in it. A set of large windows lined the wall, welcoming the serene afternoon light. I spotted Sachiko sleeping at the table, using her elbows as a pillow. I silently pulled out the other chair, careful not to wake her. The chair creaked as I lowered myself in it, but it didn't seem to disturb her. Sachiko's shoulders rhythmically moved up and down, but other than that she remained motionless. Her thin and glossy hair succumbing to the pull of gravity covered her face. It swayed ever so slightly in the soft breeze, glimmering in the afternoon light. Realized the collar of my coat got crooked as I sat down. Remembering that I had a doll in my pocket, I took it out and placed it on the table. It had been preserved well, given its age. I tried brushing off a dirty spot on its cheek with a finger, but it didn't work. Suddenly, I heard some footsteps from behind. Looking up, I saw Nanai's aunt at the other end of the corridor. She seemed to have noticed me as well and made a light bow.
Hello?
She came over to my chair, carrying a basket full of laundry. Hello.
The weather is certainly very nice today, neither too cold nor too hot. A perfect day for an afternoon nap if there ever was one.
How about joining us?
An enticing proposal, but I must refuse. If Nana found us, I wouldn't hear the end of it.
That's too bad. Lily made a warm smile, then shifted her gaze to the doll on the table.
Is this yours?
Yes.
It looks quite old.
Switching the laundry basket to the other hand, Lily considered the doll with curious eyes. I held it up in front of her and she took it with her one free hand.
Is it handmade? Spots of dirt aside, it appears quite well crafted.
I've had it since my childhood. You could say it's somewhat special to me.
So it's something that's important to you, okay.
Lily inspected the doll for any other patches of dirt and tear marks.
I could fix it up for you if you want.
Oh, really?
Of course. It's not like our own antiques receive no refurbishing after all.
So the doll is an antique because it's from her childhood.
We have a contract with a company that specializes in these things, and I myself can handle some of the simpler items.
Another hint that they're perhaps... Yeah. Lily answered me with a smile.
Fixing your doll isn't that difficult compared to what I usually do anyway.
In that case, I would definitely appreciate it.
All right.
Lily placed the doll in her laundry basket. She then pulled out a sheet from it.
Use this if you're planning to sleep, all right?
Thank you.
I was hanging in the sun just a few minutes ago, so it should feel quite pleasant.
I might end up being unable to sleep at night because of it, though. Lily chuckled.
Well, that wouldn't be good at all, now would it? Sleep is the best medicine, or however the saying goes.
She nodded to herself a few times.
I imagine a mansion like this must have a good ghost story or two.
Oh, no, I got it backwards. Imagine a mansion like this must have a good ghost story or two.
Oh, absolutely it does. Do you like these kinds of stories?
I'm quite a fan.
In that case, I can tell you one if you want.
That sounds great. Ooh, ghost story time. Remember last time we got a ghost story? It was really creepy for some reason.
Yeah.
It's just tonally strange.
So wait, there were 2 chairs at that table. Where's Sachiko?
Well, that's not good. That's not good at all. All this was predicated on the idea that she actually existed.
What the fuck is going on?
What the shit? Was Narasaki sitting down?
Yeah. Unless she got back up. We got a description of her sitting down.
So, okay, so what? What does Narasaki is imagining Sachiko?
Narasaki is imagining Sachiko, and Sachiko is imagining Takako, And Takako is imagining Narasaki.
The fuck? Well, we're just gonna hold on to that for a moment.
I can't tell if it's just to the art is that way thing or if we're supposed to read into this.
Well, we heard that it said explicitly there were 2 chairs.
Did it? Yeah, it did. The other chair.
Yep.
It's about a woman that used to live here quite some time ago. She was different from most people. You could say she had an unusually sharp intuition. For example, look at this scar here. I got it when I was hit by a bike.
Lily rolled up her sleeve and showed her elbow to me. I could make out a scar that must have needed at least 6 stitches. It was quite an old wound. I doubt I would have even noticed the scar had she not pointed it out.
I spoke to that woman on the phone the day before, and she told me to be careful of bikes. She'd always warn you about things out of nowhere, but her premonitions almost always turned out to be true.
Why did you get hurt then? Lily smiled.
I wasn't planning to go out that day, but I was bored and napped through half the day, and by the time I awoke, I'd already forgotten about the warning. I figured it was the perfect time to take out the trash, and as soon as I stepped outside, I was hit by a bike.
She leaned to the left, pantomiming how she got hit. So that person then could predict the future.
I'm not sure. In my experience, there were only 2 occasions where she predicted something with such accuracy, so I probably wouldn't go so far as to say she could read the future. On the other hand, there were several cases that made me think she had unbelievably good instincts. It felt more like she was sensitive to the supernatural. One time while working here, I figured I'd skip out on cleaning duty and was sleeping in the storage room when I woke up with some really bad sleep paralysis. I couldn't move at all and was half panicking when I suddenly heard someone's footsteps outside, along with the voices of 2 people. However, my mouth wouldn't move, so I couldn't call for help either. I was praying for someone to notice me. I heard one of the 2 draw closer to the storage room, opening its door. It was her again. I pleaded for help with my gaze, but when she saw me, all she did was snort, as if making fun of me.
Lily recounted the story with a smile on her face.
She then closed the door and left. The sleep paralysis subsided on its own later, and I remembered looking all over the place to find and give her a piece of my mind. I was furious that she didn't rescue me.
Lily raised a fist in expression of rightful anger, but soon lowered it and smiled.
At any rate, I thought she had special powers. How about you? Do you believe in such things?
I have had no first-hand experience with stuff like that, so I don't have much to say.
I see.
Lily continued in a slightly hushed tone.
A lot of hotels and inns started popping up after the war. You know, for tourists and such. However, most of them went bankrupt as soon as the real estate bubble burst. And with no funds to even raise the buildings, they ended up abandoned. It's been said that since olden times, this area maintained strong ties with the supernatural, but with a convenient ghost mansion around, the stories pertaining to all the things that might live outside went completely out of control. There are dozens of such stories, I honestly can't even remember them all. Anyway, this woman in question could see those kinds of things, so she had it rough. And her senses grew even keener after that one particular incident. At first she had said she could only hear the sounds at night. That time she was already working and lodging at the mansion. One day she said she could hear the water dripping from the tap despite sleeping in the wing farthest away from the kitchen. The tap here was pretty loose, so you had to close it really tightly. With that in mind, she climbed out of bed and went to the kitchen to see what was up. Still half asleep, she tried to wring the tap handle even harder, but it didn't help. And then suddenly, she heard something near her ears that sounded vaguely like the laugh of a child. She swiftly spun around, but there was no one there. Figuring it was only her imagination, she returned to bed, but as soon as she began to doze off, she heard some voices again. And this time it was a bunch of children laughing. She jumped out of bed, but once again, there was no one there. Assuming it was just a bad dream she had after that unpleasant experience with the tap, she lay back on the bed, only for the sound of dripping water to start up again. She had a bad feeling about it, but still considered the possibility that her previous experience with the tab was no more than a dream. In the end, she just got up and went to the kitchen again. As she closed the handle again, she heard the voice again. This time it was clear as day. However, she didn't turn around. Let's play again sometime.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? Menacing?
However, she didn't turn around. Instead, she focused on something that she saw from the corner of her eyes. It was not behind, but below her. She slowly looked down to see a child looking at her.
Ooh.
I didn't quite catch who that. I think it was a child's face upside down.
Yep.
I didn't recognize if it was someone specific, but
I don't think it was.
The child turned its shadowy face to her, and after conceding that they had been found, suddenly dashed toward the kitchen wall and vanished behind it. Well, was that scary? She leaned against the table on her elbows and took a good look at my face. Yeah, that was pretty creepy, all right. Right? She nodded to herself with a self-satisfied smile. Do you want to hear what happened next? Yeah, what happened? So, she ended up changing rooms, but felt the presence of children in her new place as well. After that, she started seeing odd things all over the mansion. I saw her run into them multiple times myself. This one time, she suddenly stopped in place as we were climbing the stairs. And when I asked her what was wrong, she told me she saw something in the mirror that shouldn't have been there. We had a big mirror on the second floor, and I gave it a glance, but it looked perfectly normal to me. All I could see reflected in it were the two of us. I asked her if she was tired and played it for laughs at the time, but it kept happening, so I figured I might as well try and research the history of the mansion a bit. I already knew the place used to be a sanatorium. Told you about the Fujisaka family, right? Well, we knew that even before we refurbished the place. The building has been purified by Shinto priests, and it was never a hospital or the site for a graveyard either. Besides, this area saw plenty of other battles during the war, so expect all the weird things to happen there and not over here in a secluded mansion. Anyway, I figured to dig a bit deeper and use the records in the study and library next door. Oh, that's right. The library over there actually used to belong to another building. Well, shit. Now I'm back at... Okay, so there are different buildings. What if you're right about the full... What if Narasaki's perspective is actually happening? Okay, new theory.
Yeah?
Sachiko's perspective. I still think we're broadly correct on Sachiko and Takiko's perspectives, but
Okay.
Narasaki's perspective, which we've been broadly trusting up until now, maybe she has also gotten older, and after Sachiko's passing has begun to see her as well.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know what that means for Takako and Sachiko's perspectives, because like Kozue still showing up in all of them is weird.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe? I don't know, because it's super weird that this is just happening and Sachiko's napping in apparently the same chair.
Yep.
And there were different buildings. It fell apart before we could do anything about it, so we only ended up getting the library. It's actually even older than this match. Oh. Anyway, I also found some black and white photos from when the place was used as a sanatorium. I showed the pictures to my friend, and then she pointed at a few people, telling me she actually saw them here in the mansion. Lily stole a glance at me. And what happened after that? Well, we assumed those people must have been ghosts or something, so we called a priest and had him purify the place. We used holy salt, placed charms on the doors and the walls and all that jazz. Might still be some left. Want me to look for them? I figured it wouldn't have been too fun to see them, so I declined. Anyway, after that, she stopped telling her weird stories to me. I was relieved thinking we were finally done with it, but
No, you had it right.
but one day, and ironically enough in this exact place, I was walking down the corridor when I heard some voices. Thinking that someone was having a conversation, I continued walking and ran into her. But there was no one else. She just stood there chuckling all by herself. When I asked her what she was doing, she answered that it was nothing. It felt weird, so I didn't back down. Who were you talking to? I asked her. She finally told me that those people from the pictures didn't disappear after the purification. And then after talking to them, she found out they weren't bad people at all. She didn't want us to worry anymore, so she kept silent about it. No one else, of course, saw or felt anything, but could have gone by unnoticed, but I think she wanted someone to confess to. Then after that, I saw her talking to herself on multiple occasions. One time when we were folding the sheets, she suddenly looked up at the ceiling and started following something with her eyes. When I asked her what it was, she told me that she saw a butterfly, but I couldn't see anything, no matter where I looked. It also happened on a cold winter day, so it didn't even make sense for a butterfly to be there.
I'm gonna leave that one. I'm just gonna leave that one be.
She said it was probably from the other world. According to her, it was a beautiful blue butterfly.
And blue is the color of the other world.
Yeah, the ultra blue landscape. That's where the gays are. Sachiko and Takako are in the UBL. Solved it. All right, well, we got there.
After that, she began talking to herself a lot less frequently. Instead, she started seeing butterflies everywhere. Realized how she would always stare upward whenever we roamed the corridors together. She even said she wanted to try and catch one. Anyway, one day she had to clean the guest rooms. I was assigned to cleaning the windows in the corridor, but as I was working, I suddenly heard a loud sound from the room she was cleaning. I rushed inside to find it completely empty. The window was open, so I looked down, thinking she might have fallen or down or something, but I didn't see anyone. Then I remembered we had a well down below, so I called some people and we ended up going down the well with flashlights and everything, but we didn't find anything. Only the dock water's surface reflected our lights. Turned the place up and down looking for her, but never found her again.
Well, wouldn't that turn into a serious incident then? I assume the police were involved.
Yeah, the police filed her as a missing person and kept looking. They even climbed down our well, but didn't find any clues. Anyway, she disappeared without a trace. Most of the people have heard stories about her, so they started saying that she was spirited away. Parents looked everywhere for her, but ended up with no clues either. However, it's possible she's been around here all along. It's just that we couldn't see her. Well, was it scary?
Lily opened her eyes wide as she asked the question. More like creepy in an unsettling way.
I suppose. You know, someone said that if we can't find the body, it means there's a chance she's still out there alive and well. It's a possibility I can't deny.
So you're saying that we're better off not knowing?
Well, there are things best left unknown, right? Besides, we don't even know whether she was seeing real ghosts or just had mental problems. On the other hand, she began acting particularly weird after seeing those old pictures. Perhaps it would have been best for her to just ignore that whole incident with the child or whatever she saw on her first weird night. What do you think?
I imagine it would be difficult not to pay attention to something as big as that.
You're right, but I think it was at least an option.
As I deliberated on which part she had been referring to exactly, her tone suddenly turned more cheerful.
These kinds of stories are like Pandora's box. If no one ever opened the thing before, how would they know that hope would be the last thing remaining on the bottom? However, some theories claim that you could also know the future through it.
Oh. Some theories claim that you could also know the future through it.
Really? But still, that doesn't change my example.
I glanced at Sachiko, and Lily followed my gaze.
What do you think?
The light falling on Sachiko's hair had grown orange in hue. I suddenly heard another set of footsteps approaching from the direction of the corridor.
Oh, snap.
Lily stood up as Nanai stormed into our serene space. What are you doing here? What about the laundry? Nanai addressed Lily in a somewhat heated tone.
I wasn't skimping on work. I was telling our guests about the history of our mansion, that's all.
Really hope they won't after your silly ghost stories again.
Oh, not even close, right?
I'm sorry for taking up your time, but I truly appreciated that curious little story. Nana looked at Lily, then back at me. She finally heaved a deep sigh. Well, all right then. Lily picked up her laundry basket.
I'll be returning to work then. Let's have another chat sometime, all right?
Said Lily as she began walking down the corridor.
Sure.
Oh, sure.
Well, I'll see you around then.
Nana followed after Lily. Okay, yeah, so... No one else even addressing Sachiko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also interesting. There's this repeated theme in the stories within the stories and multiple different stories and multiple levels of the stories of people suddenly disappearing. And there's also repeated themes of people seeing folks who aren't there. So we've definitely got examples of how the seeing folks who aren't there bit fits in that theme. But why do we keep hearing about people suddenly disappearing?
Yeah, I don't... The suddenly disappearing bit is so strange. Well, we got a new tip, so let's read the tips.
Second trip. Wow.
Second trip. Huh.
Oh.
I was on my way to Tokyo to pick up furniture for my mansion from a friend. I had 2 good friends in high school, and one of them would donate her furniture to my place from time to time. She established herself as the president of a hotel business in the capital, being the most successful one out of the 3 of us. Yesterday, she told me over the phone how she decided to close a few of her hotels and sell off the land. According to her, the decision wasn't made due to business struggling. In fact, she bought that land expecting its value to skyrocket so she could sell it off at a higher price. Long story short, she now had some extra furniture she didn't know what to do with. She sent a portion of the furniture to her other places and sold off some of the others at an auction, but she still had a lot left and didn't feel like throwing everything away. Besides, donating them to someone was cheaper than disposal, anyway. We had a member that ran it in, so she decided to contact me. We both came from a small village in the mountains. Most of it consisted of rice paddy fields and traditional Japanese buildings with thatched roofs that you could rarely find anymore in this day and age. Besides that, only lush green mountains surrounded the area. It was the very definition of the word countryside. As such, the majority of my childhood memories were of flowing rivers, singing birds, and the fresh smell of rice fields. I heard the chirping of birds as I got off the train. But as I looked around trying to find them, I only saw a tall pole with a speaker on top. I descended the stairs, thinking that people in the city were weird. My friend had always been obsessed with success, so she ended up choosing a famous university in the capital. First, I was worried about her. As to why, well, there were never really anything about her that made her stand out in school. Even her grades were all average. Imagine City People is a competition-driven group that would do anything for money, so I wasn't sure how a country lamb like her could possibly survive in a sea of such sharks. However, she ended up being much more capable than I gave her credit for, and got as far as opening multiple hotels and inns all over the area all by herself. In retrospect, perhaps her ability to not stand out in the country was just another manifestation of her shrewdness in life. I never suspected her to have an interest in running business, although she was always the one who'd collect money from us to pay for the bill whenever we went to eat out. She was never a part of any group of authority in school, like a student council or something similar, but now that I thought about it, she would always find a way to keep the discussion going once all the others had run out of ideas or energy. It was interesting how that talent would sometimes manifest in the least expected of places, though you would only ever notice it in retrospect. As for me, I remained in our hometown and still lived there. When I left the station, I climbed onto the back seat of the first taxi I spotted and told the driver the address of the hotel. The driver raised a white-gloved hand in a sign of understanding. I leaned back in my seat and recalled the last time I visited her hotel. She bought some ancient building with a bunch of old furniture and gave it a makeover. The result was a hotel. Wasn't sure if they'd fit my place, but I did have my eye on a few specific things. As such, I promised her to board the Shinkansen from Kansai to Tokyo first thing in the early morning the next day. I looked up at a tall building I saw through the window. It was my third time in Tokyo. Most of the time I just head straight for the international airport by train, so it was pretty new for me to actually be driven through the city in a taxi. I could feel the driver staring at me through the rearview mirror, so I decided not to fidget too much. When I reached the hotel, I found her in the lobby. She was talking on the phone. Drew the phone away from her ear for a moment, and before I could open my mouth, said,
If there's anything that piques your interest, put this sticker on it.
Back on the train, I mentally ran through multiple simulations of how our conversation would go, but it seemed like I was only wasting my time. Oh, that was so like her. Following her instructions, I spent the rest of the time walking around and putting stickers with my name on them on things unliked. Turning around, I saw all sorts of furniture with my stickers on them. Reminded me of a property seizure scene I once saw in a movie. Some of the things I wanted were already gone, but I still got my hands on quite a number of nice articles. One of the antiques I grew particularly fond of was a moss green one-seater sofa of an English design. After about an hour, I returned to the lobby to look for my friend. Spotted her walking through the main entrance. Seemed to be on her way somewhere, accompanied by a person wearing an expensive suit.
You're already done.
Yep.
Did you find anything?
Found quite a few things I could use. Was definitely worth the trip.
Glad to hear that.
Are you going somewhere?
Yes, I have some urgent business to take care of. I don't think I'll be back by sunset.
I see.
I'm sorry for having you come all this way, and...
It's all right. Work doesn't wait. I'll come again some other time to thank you for this, all right? She made a warm smile upon me, hearing me say that. It was at least 3 times more dazzling than the one I remembered from our school days.
We're actually going to pass by the station on the way. We could drop you off there if you want.
That'll help me save some cash on the taxi. Thank you. I spotted a luxurious-looking black car parked by the side of the road as we left the hotel. We both climbed into the back seat. The interior smelled brand new. Looked at the window as the car began to move. It had come from the country, but even I knew this was a luxurious German car that must have cost a fortune to buy and maintain. I was wondering whether she would be filling a purchase of this caliber under taxable or non-taxable expenditure. She suddenly asked me how I felt about the city. It took me a few moments to realize the meaning of her question. It's quite different from home. I was really surprised by that random birdsong speaker at the station.
Oh, those are for the visually handicapped.
I gave her a confused look.
You might have noticed how they were all set up by the stairs.
I reddened, realizing I had the wrong idea all along.
It's been quite a while since I've been back home,
She remarked, changing the subject upon noticing my distress. We spent the few minutes it took to get to the station discussing the country. As we reached our destination, I stepped out of the car and thanked her. I glanced at my watch as the car rolled away. I had nothing to do for the rest of the day. Heaving a sigh, I ventured into the Nakano shopping district with the intention of grabbing something for lunch.
Oh, headed to the Nanako shopping district.
Nanako! Get Daddy another beer. After walking around for a while, I found myself attracted to a melon bread shop and a ramen restaurant. However, I felt like the melon bread alone would not be enough, while the ramen seemed like it was made using bland soy sauce for the base. Is that the Sun Mall? Then I remembered how there was an excellent ramen shop in Ueno. Couldn't quite remember how to get there, but I had plenty of time to spare, so hopped on a train at Nakano Station that headed in Ueno's general direction. I think that's the Sun Mall. I changed to the Yamanote line at Shinjuku and reached my destination with far less difficulty than I expected. It's already past 1 o'clock, but I still managed to get into the shop without having to wait in line. No one to talk to while I ate. I ended up reminiscing about the last time I'd been there. I ate here with the other one of those 2 friends I mentioned. At the time, she wanted to go to the nearby zoo. It was 2 o'clock when I left the restaurant. I reserved a seat on the night train, but seeing how it was a weekday, I probably would have found an open seat on any random train at this hour. My original plan was to spend the night drinking with my friend while reminiscing about the old days, then use all my remaining energy to catch the last train and sleep until I was home. I felt a need to use all this pent-up energy. Besides, I was in a good mood after getting all my hands on that great furniture for free. I decided to go to the zoo.
Zooquarium.
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 Zooquarium. I thought it'd be empty at this hour, but I was wrong. There's a middle-aged man with a camera looking at birds. I also found an old man gazing at the elephants. Ran into a whole family on the Penguin Mountain. Each corner had at least one person strolling around. One man was drinking a beer in front of the bear cage. First glance, I didn't spot anything inside, so I stopped and began looking for the bear that was supposedly there. Its cage was on a lower level compared to me, with some rocks, a lake, and a large tree in the middle. I circled around the cage, but I still couldn't find the bear. Perhaps the caretakers took it somewhere. The bear might have needed a medical checkup or had to be taught some tricks to entertain the audience, or maybe it needed to be washed at some other facility. I still glanced at the man sitting on a bench, drinking beer. He was absent-mindedly gazing in my direction. I couldn't imagine what he was doing there in front of an empty cage. I figured he could have said the same thing about me. When I reached the small animal corner, I realized I was going through the zoo in the exact same order as before. There were hundreds of potential routes one could have picked. I remembered how adamant my friend was about seeing an anteater. So we pretty much combed the entire place looking for it. I was following the exact same route now. I stood in front of the anteater's cage. Still in the same place. A building separated from visitors by a glass wall. There was a sign with the word Anteater written on it in white ink dangling in front of the cage. Found it, I said while she was looking somewhere else.
You did?
She cheerfully hurried to my side.
Where is it?
She lined up next to me. I don't think it's here right now.
No way. This cannot be.
She dropped her shoulders. When I asked her why she wanted to see it so much, she told me its hands looked cute when it tried to walk on its hind legs. She wanted to see the real thing ever since she saw it in a picture. And indeed, there was a picture of an anteater on its hind legs in front of the cage, too. It seems to do that when it's angry, I told her as I read the explanation.
That's what's good about it.
I very much doubted the anteater would have agreed with that. I pulled myself back to reality and gave the cage a good look. There was no sight of the anteater this time either. Felt like I could now understand her disappointment. Someone else came to the cage while I was still lingering in front of it. Decided to make it look like I was going for an animal before I'd hastily leave. However, as I shook my head in front of the cage, a man walked up next to me and began taking pictures of it. Confused, I peered into the cage again. But no matter where I looked, I still couldn't see any animals. Next, I looked at the man. Wearing a polo shirt, he seemed to be lost in his own world while taking pictures. Excuse me, could you tell me what you were taking pictures of? I had to ask, otherwise this would have kept me up all night. Maybe there was something wrong with my head that made me unable to perceive anteaters in the real world. Besides, I hated the feeling of regret that came from letting a certain opportunity slip past you. The man looked at me and made a friendly smile.
I'm in need of some scenery pictures. I'm not here to photograph animals.
He added. Scenery pictures, huh? Still somewhat puzzled, I ended up parroting his words.
I'm designing something that's supposed to recreate the world of animals living in their cages. It's called habitat reproduction, and I'm collecting samples for it right now.
He stopped taking pictures and explained everything to me in a friendly manner. Oh, I see. Wasn't anything special after all. Now that I thought about it, being unable to see anteaters probably wasn't a very realistic disease anyway.
I love that it's lampshading unusual mental disorders now.
Yep.
Now that we are primed to be like every character in this has something up with them that is distorting what we see of the story. Now it just starts making fun of us for thinking that.
Oh my god. If that even warranted any thought.
That is a miniature South American tropical rainforest inside that cage. Even the sounds and the temperature are being emulated.
Now that he mentioned it, this room was indeed unnaturally warm. I could even hear the sounds of monkeys and birds through the speakers. I see, I said, feeling impressed.
Animals feel more at home this way, and the audience, too, has a chance to learn more about actual tropical conditions.
That's pretty elaborate. I'll pay more attention to the scenery from now on.
You do that. I guarantee it'll be more fun that way.
Departing from the man, I followed his suggestion and began scrutinizing the environment of the other cages. Thought they all had similar plants inside of them, but as I took a closer look, I realized that almost every cage had something different. What surprised me was that none of them were merely models or imitations, but real, actual plants the zoo staff must have been growing. I found a lot of plants I'd never seen before. I didn't realize it, but this place could have easily doubled as a botanic garden. They must have cared for their animals quite a bit. A branch quivered in a tall cage inside the bird corner. I spotted a big owl. I turned to the signboard for help, but it listed a whole bunch of different predatory birds along with their illustrations, and I couldn't immediately find the one I had just seen. The signboard had information about their names, natural habitat, and the method of their hunting. I stared into the round eyes of the bird, and I had a feeling it was staring back at me. I wonder if it could remember its old forest. But for the way it motionlessly stared at me, it didn't seem like it was having any such thoughts. Now that what I thought about it, she was also quite interested in birds. Back when we lived together in that mansion up in the mountains. We'd observe different types every season. She would find all sorts of birds and tell me their names. I remembered how we'd look for them in the forest after hearing their chirping. During one of our walks, I asked her the names of every single bird we spotted. She ended up mentioning over 30 species. I myself only recognized 2 or 3. But I could still remember over half the names she kept repeating. I pulled myself back to reality again. The owl was still staring at me. Guess the zoo helped me remember my past at least.
Interesting.
What the fuck? Thanks for giving us names.
What?
That was so helpful.
What?
Giving us the names of everyone involved in that scene. That was so helpful. Like, it seems like it's Nanai, right?
Yeah.
But who are the other 2?
Nah. Who knows? Good
It's
stuff.
playing coy. Oh, this is gonna drive me mad. Oh man, this game has been something else, let me tell you.
Yeah.
You know what? This seems like a good place to end. Call it a sode. We'll see you all next time on the Happy Normal Lesbian Fun Hour, where nothing weird happens and I don't have to try to figure out strange stuff.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.